Welcome to Italics, television for the Italian-American experience. I'm your host, Anthony Tamburri. With us this month is John Peter Didato, an award-winning director, producer, and editor. John has edited numerous television shows, including Sesame Street, Count TV, and 3-2-1 Let's Go. His first documentary, Ciao, Sesame Street, was honored to have been selected the winner of the 2019 Russo Brothers Italian-American Film Forum. Ciao, Sesame Street goes behind the scenes of Sesame Street to profile Italian Americans who have contributed to the success of the most beloved children's show in television history. John is a native New Yorker who teaches film production and editing in various universities in New York City. John, welcome to Italics.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So you're here primarily, but not only, but primarily because we want to talk about Ciao, Sesame Street, which is a wonderful film that actually won the Russo Brothers Award that's affiliated with the National Italian American Foundation and has been in awards for about 4 or 5 years now, I think. So you're an Italian American. Ciao, Sesame Street. So let's start with basically your background. How does it impact your work, if at all?
I think there's always been a strong affinity for the arts in the Italian community, and the Italian Americans brought that over here. My grandmother was a seamstress, and this ability to take different pieces of clothing, different fabrics, stitch them together. It's a lot of what I like to consider doing in editing. I'm taking different shots and I'm putting them together. And you need to be very detail-oriented, but you also need the ability to step back, see if it looks good, look at it in totality. And if I do my job right, you don't even notice where the seams are.
For Ciao, Sesame Street, where did the idea come from?
In 2018, I attended the National Italian American Foundation Gala in DC. And the day of the gala, they have a beautiful expo, and I'm walking around, and in this room, Russo Brothers Film Forum. Now, obviously, I had known the Russo brothers as a very successful directors. And I popped my head in, and they showed 3 wonderful films. And I said, what is this about? And they said, oh, you can apply. And I actually talked to, well, who would win later that night, the filmmaker, and he said, yeah, you should do it, it's great. So I said, I'm doing it. And, I filled out the proposal, and when I got accepted, I was thrilled. And then it was like, okay, how am I going to do this? So I interviewed a number of people, more people than I can actually could have put into the film. But it was such, I think, a gift from the Russo family to the Italian American community to keep these stories and to, promote the collection and the sharing of all these stories that people have.
Because we're talking about basically short films. What we know today as opposed to 60, 70 years ago. 60, 70 years ago when you went to the movie theaters, where most of us don't go anymore, when you went to the movie theaters, not only did you see the feature, but you saw a little bit of a cartoon, you saw a newsreel, sometimes you saw a short film, and that was the venue for a lot of those 10 and 15-minute films. Now yours is longer, but still, that was the venue for the short film, right? And today, basically, to see a short film, you either see them in class or you see them on a university campus, although there are some platforms now that do have those special programs of the short film. And it seems to me, and you being a filmmaker, it seems to me that that's the other thing the Russo brothers have done, right, with this program, is that they've given a little bit of life not only to Italian American, but to the short film. That's sort of what I was looking at as well. I don't know what you think about that, what your thoughts are on that.
It's funny because I intended to make a short film, and I made a very long short film because there were just so many good stories, and obviously I wasn't limited to a certain distribution platform. In fact, I could expand it to a feature length if I needed to. But the short film format, which I teach my students, it's a very specific format because it's really about, if you want to do the analogy of cooking, it's really about boiling it down to that very, very specific moment in time, that very specific theme that you're trying to convey.
And you have to grab your viewer. And I always make the connection or the comparison with the novel and the short story, right? The novel gives you time to develop character, to whatever, develop your storyline, et cetera. The short story, you've got to grab your reader. And the same thing with the film.
And you know what's interesting is the way that the distribution platforms have changed our thinking. So now filmmakers, an hour and a half isn't enough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a limited series and do 10-hour-long episodes because I really want people to feel these characters and get to know these characters.
What was your thought process behind including some of the celebrities that you did?
Well, my idea was, I'd show a celebrity, then we'd talk to someone for a while, and then we'd show another celebrity and talk to someone, kind of like different chapters. And I looked around, and there were so many Italian Americans over the years who've appeared on Sesame Street graciously. So it was like, well, who should I use? So I decided to start with Robert De Niro and Elmo's bit, which is very, very funny because he's teaching Elmo how to act. And what I included is, I included an extra 10 seconds. Usually we fade out at the end, about 10 seconds before, but I said, it gets funnier the longer they are laughing and interacting, kind of ad-libbing with each other.
What do you think, Elmo?
Not bad. Let Elmo see. Can Robert De Niro Elmo do this?
Let me try. How's that?
Not bad. Again.
So that I included, and then I included Marissa Tomei, another Academy Award-winning actress, and James Gandolfini, because in James Gandolfini's bit, he's a very tough guy, right? His characters are anyway, and he's playing someone who's frightened, and Zoe helps him understand it's okay to be frightened.
I'm glad, because I know what it's like to be scared.
You get scared?
Yeah, sure, everybody gets scared sometimes.
Really? Well, what scares you?
Well, there are 3 things that scare me, Zoe.
Oh, don't joke me. Well, what 3 things scare you?
Well, one thing I'm afraid of is the dark.
And little things like that, I just thought that those were 3 great examples. And there were so many. I mean, Ray Romano's was very funny, and Joe Torre, I wish I could have included them.
Yeah, and you had Tony Bennett as well.
Yes, I included a little section of Tony Bennett singing that Frankie vividly remembers.
Me to the moon. He wants to wriggle amongst the stars.
Here's one of the things that I loved about Ciao, Sesame Street. It starts out with De Niro, great actor, Tony Bennett, James Gandolfini. So we've got 3 famous actors in front of the camera. But what Ciao, Sesame Street shows is all these Italian Americans behind the camera. It literally with Frank, with who opens, with whom you open the film, right? Who is a cameraman, whereas the others are writers, but literally behind the camera. And I thought that was great.
There's a feeling about camera. There's something about feeling when you're making a move and zooming and creating a shot. There's that feeling going to the beat or even getting a close-up of somebody and you did it. It's really unbelievable that I'm there and I'm doing this.
It was 2018, as I said, and Sesame Street was about to celebrate our 50th anniversary. And then I found out about the Film Forum, and I said, how can I marry these together? Because this film, for me, is a love letter to Sesame Street, my appreciation for the company. I strongly believe in our mission to help kids grow smarter, stronger, and kinder. And I looked around, and I saw so many Italian Americans working on Sesame Street. And I said, you know what, and also show some clips of Italian Americans who have appeared on Sesame Street to kind of give you a break between the interviews. And that's how the idea came about. A lot of making a documentary is access and what you know. And I knew a lot of these people. And I said, would you do it? And everyone said yes and joined and helped me.
I was really struck by you presenting Linda Bovais.
Hi, my name is Linda Bovais. My character on Sesame Street is named Linda. I've been working on Sesame Street for many years, I believe 32 years, from 1970 to 2002.
Here is a woman who's deaf, yet has made a career in a way that people maybe 30, 40 years ago wouldn't expect, right? And here she is, she's had 30 years on Sesame Street.
Including Linda in Sesame Street in the cast was a big deal, and I think it, and she says it herself, it was to show children that there are other people different of you, which really goes along with our mutual respect and understanding philosophy. And she was just wonderful to meet. You know, both of her parents are deaf, and they really encouraged her to go to college and to pursue her dreams. And when I researched her, you know, because research is a big part, I was able to track down the first episode of Sesame Street she was in. And for me, that was such a great find because, you know, we have over 4,000 shows. Wow. And I had to research it, and it wasn't on digital formats. I had to go to the actual tape, and I had to digitize the tape. And it's a great moment because, and I left it in, is the slate. There's a slate that says, you know, this is Teletape, Sesame Street, 1971, I believe.
The Children's Television Workshop presents Sesame Street Show 326, produced in color, a teletape.
And no one has seen that slate in probably 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
But when I walked in, everybody was really friendly.
And her message still resonates today, which is, I don't want kids to see me as a deaf person. I want them to see me as a person who just happens to be deaf.
I wasn't sure what to do with the script. I go, how am I supposed to understand a Muppet talking? What is this reality? What is this concept? And how do I talk to people and ask questions?
Why is she waving her hands and stuff like that?
Well, Big Bird, you see, Linda's deaf.
You mean she can, like, say words with her hands?
Exactly, that's right.
Frank, Gasparri, Cheech. It's just a wonderful way. I think it's wonderful the way you open up with him.
I never knew I had an accent, a Brooklyn accent. I found out the day I joined the Navy. Oh, you're from Brooklyn, you're from New York. And I say, those Southerners are the smartest people in the world.
He is the quote-unquote type, right? That some people think of as Italian. He's got that accent, that New York accent, which is wonderful. He goes through how his name has been more than Americanized, basically changed. He took on an American name, but then he Frank, but then he's called Cheech, which is really the sort of diminutive of Francesco, which would be Frank. And I just thought linguistically it was great. It was a wonderful way in which you opened that up. And he's been there for a long time.
He was there on day one, and he has a story where, you know, they were doing wonderful different programs at the studio. And one day he gets called up and he arrives on this set, and he didn't know what to think because he sees an 8-foot yellow bird appear, and he's like, what is this? And so he was there since day one. He is what a lot of people consider the mayor of Sesame Street. He's very friendly. As he says, he always wants everyone to be happy. He's very funny, and he's a huge personality. But the funny thing, I think, in the interview is, as you know, in television production, you know, we'll go, can we check your mic? You know, and sometimes we'll just say, you know, just say your name so we can get a level on the microphone volume. And that answer was 2 minutes long, you know, and I didn't expect that. I thought I was just testing my mic. And he gave a 2-minute long answer that wound up in the film.
My real name is Gaspare Biondo. But people call me Gaspare, they call me Frank, they call me Sonny. I grew up with the name Sonny. And Cheech. Right, so I know where it comes. People call me Sonny, I know it's from the old neighborhood in Brooklyn where I grew up.
So what were some of the challenges of putting this together?
Well, there was a short time period. I applied in March, accepted in April, had to start pre-production and research, shot mainly May and June, and started the editing process, and I had to have a first cut by September 1st. There's also, as I said, there's so much material, so my interviews were usually an hour to an hour and a half long. I had to whittle those down, and then I tried to find the material that the person was talking about. So if Frank was mentioning a specific episode that he was the camera person on, I would try to find that episode. If he met a celebrity, I tried to find that. Same thing with Linda. If she mentioned a certain segment or a certain theme, I looked for that in the footage. And some of it was easy, and some of it took a lot of time. And then it's always, as I said, it's, you know, you start with the very large section, and you just keep whittling it down to its best parts.
Yeah.
So the editing obviously took the longest amount of time.
One of the themes you hear throughout the interviews, the Ferraro, which I thought was great. Her maiden name is Ferrara, and she marries Ferraro, which, as she says, was a little bit confusing at first, which I can understand. But she talks about family, which I thought was really significant and really relevant to this whole Italian thing, right? Because we do talk about family in a good sense. I mean, there's that other way too, but we do talk about family a lot, right?
Everyone around me was family. So my grandparents lived in the house behind me. One grandmother lived in the house with me. Across the street was an aunt and an uncle. Down the street, another aunt and uncle. One street over, two more aunts and uncles. So wherever I went, there was family there all the time. So I grew up very much surrounded by the Italian-American experience, surrounded by family and food, lots and lots of food.
Family as our relatives, our blood relatives, but family also is the neighborhood and things of that sort. And it seems that there is this sense of family on Sesame Street.
Absolutely. I mean, people like Frank has been there for most of his life. Christine, she started almost right out of college.
Yeah.
And once you're there, just the people are so wonderful. And I think part of that is everyone realizes this is more than just a television show. This is an attempt to educate children as well. And we have just a wonderful bond with the cast, the crew, the puppeteers, the writers, the researchers, all of them working together for this common goal. And when you're doing something for good, you know, you get kind of addicted to it, and you want to be there, and you start to get to know everyone and watch out for each other and work together. And it's a very familial set.
How do you see your sense of Italian or Italian Americanness impacting?
As you know, Italians love to tell stories, right? And they're also really good at stories. My mother remembers details from 50 years ago that when I can't remember what I did yesterday. And as a documentarian, I love to hear these stories, but I also fear that they fade away. So what I try to do is collect them, tape them, you know, make them better, and then share them so other people can hear the stories. Because one of the joys of being a filmmaker and listening to other people is all the stories that were on the cutting room floor. All the stories that were so good, but I didn't have time to share them. It's my benefit as being the filmmaker, because I'll hear things that will never be shared, but I'll never forget them. Like Frankie has a story. If you were in television production, usually you start in the smaller cities, and he was in a small city in Massachusetts, and he didn't like it there. Mm-hmm. And his coworker comes in one day, and he's got a crutch. He had broken his leg. And he goes, "What happened?" And he goes, "I went to New York to get a job. I get the job. I go out on 6th Avenue. I get hit by a taxi. Now I can't take the job. I got to recover. They need someone right away." He goes, "Give me that guy's number." And he called, and he got the job there. It didn't make it into the piece, but it's such a wonderful story.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, as Italian Americans, we can sit and talk for hours. And that's kind of what this film is kind of putting the audience at the dinner table and listening to your uncle, aunt, cousin just tell the stories of how
and so you said you did a long, short film.
Yes.
Which is true. 40 minutes is a long, short film. Is there a possibility of a Ciao Sesame 2?
Absolutely. You know, as I said, I interviewed other people who unfortunately didn't make it into this cut for timing reasons primarily. And I'd love to continue working on their stories and add them to this film.
What are some of your thoughts on Martin Scorsese, De Palma, Cimino, on this history of Italian directors, let's say, or Italian-American directors?
Well, I mean, you have to start with the Italian directors, right, such as Fellini, Visconti, De Sica, all those who, you know, really pushed the boundaries. And then we have a big history here with Capra, right?
Yes.
And his
and
films.
Minnelli, and Minnelli.
Exactly, Minnelli. And I'm a huge Scorsese fan. I use it many times in my class as an example. And again, it goes back to this notion of the Italian heritage of artistry that's in our blood, and it's visual, and it's audio, and cinema adds the pacing and editing and all these set design. That's really one of the beauties, is that Italians being able to tell stories, or Italian Americans being able to tell stories about their own life. And even if the story isn't about their life, they can include that detail in the set, right? The details that are on the screen but not necessarily talked about. Most of us don't understand the world of The Godfather, but we remember those tablecloths, and we remember those light switches, and the way someone was in the kitchen making meatballs, whatever it is. And that's what every filmmaker brings, is their life into the film that they're trying to make.
I'm a great fan of Nancy Savoca as an Italian-American director, and I think that True Love was really groundbreaking in many ways, because it took us out of the stereotype of organized crime, et cetera, right? And it deals with gender, and it deals with the neighborhood. We have to put Nancy there when we talk about Italian-American cinema and the novelties that have come to pass.
Yeah, absolutely. As we were discussing earlier, I clearly remember seeing the film True Love and going, wow, this was just great.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to in your creative world? You're teaching, you teach on a regular, you're with Sesame Street, you teach on a regular basis. You're doing a lot. You're doing a lot. Now, your teaching is mostly production?
Production and editing.
Mm-hmm. What are you looking forward to on the creative side? Any projects you can share with us?
Yes, I started a documentary during the pandemic.
Okay.
Very biographical. And I hope to continue working on that. And I also have another film. I just written a narrative short, and I'm hoping to shoot that over the summer.
And Italy?
Yes.
You've been to Italy a number of times,
Many
you said.
times.
Yeah.
I love walking around Florence. It's kind of like, walking around New York, and you don't know what's around the next corner. And then there's this beautiful church that seems to be stuck between two apartment buildings, and you go in, and there's marble everywhere. And again, it's artistry, it's painting, it's sculpture, it's reliefs. Everywhere there's artistry when you walk around Italy. Just like in New York, it's hard to get a bad photograph and a bad meal.
Where's your family from in Italy?
Father's family is from Sicily.
Okay.
And my grandmother, who I was very close with, she said the town was Ventimiglia, which is 20 miles from Palermo.
Right.
So literally translated.
Ventimiglia, exactly, yeah.
And a lot of Italian-American immigrants were from that town when I researched it on Ellis Island, and I have the certificate. I actually have the citizenship papers of every arm of my family.
Huh.
And my mother's side is from outside of Naples.
Okay.
And they actually had an interesting journey, whereas my great-grandfather, they originally came to New York, they couldn't find work, they went to Argentina, lived there for years, a couple of years I think, and then the parents went to Italy and left their 18-year-old children in Argentina to work for a couple of more years, and then they eventually joined them in New York.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yes, there are other cases like that. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah. And so have you been back to the village? The villages or the town?
I haven't.
Or are there relatives there?
No relatives there. I would love to go to that town in Sicily, but I haven't had a chance to.
But you've been to Sicily?
I have. I think it was too early. I was 18, and we actually traveled the entire island.
Oh.
So I've seen every temple on Sicily.
So now you got to go back.
I know I got to go back.
Yeah. And Naples? Have you been to Naples?
Yes, and Naples. I remember the food and the bay being so beautiful.
Yeah. And there's some great artwork also in Naples. Yeah. What's the reaction been to Ciao, Sesame Street? First of all, where is it available? Can people see it? Number one, and because people are going to want to know how to get it. And number two, what has the reaction been after you've won the award?
When you're working on a film, you're either on the set or you're in an edit room for hours,
right.
and it's always good to screen it with other people, but you never get that. There's an amazing feeling, just like a performer, of showing your film in a theater and hearing people laugh, seeing people get emotional, and seeing your credit, on the screen. For me, that's always gets me.
And so let me ask you, what about behind the scenes? So we did see Frank, but as I've said before, there are so many Italian Americans behind the scenes. Who are some of the people you worked with behind the scenes?
Well, I was lucky to have a great producer, Frank Campagna, who helped me navigate, who was a sounding board if I had an idea or how we should do something. He had some great ideas that really helped to contribute to the film. And he enabled me to do the art and the shoot while he covered a lot of the logistical and managerial tasks that I just couldn't handle by doing everything myself.
Great, great. It's been great chatting with you. I just want to tell people that this is really a wonderful film for a variety of reasons. Number one, for Sesame Street, right? Many people who see it will have grown up on Sesame Street, so it's going to be great for them. They'll be jazzed to see what at least the Italian Americans behind the scene, what goes on behind the scenes, right? Number two, we always hear people say, oh, not enough Italian Americans here, not enough Italian Americans there. And I've said, to people, look, not everybody is in front of the camera. There are a lot of Italian Americans in the business behind the camera. And I think this film really underscores that. I don't know if you could have picked a better variety of subjects. I think it really covers the spectrum of not just Italian Americans, but I think just humanity in general. And so while it's an Italian American movie, it's also an American movie, and I think it's also a human movie. I enjoyed seeing it 3 times. So yeah, well, of course I looked at it a little bit for the end, but no, it was a wonderful view the first, it was a wonderful view the second, and it was a wonderful view the third time. So I really want to congratulate you on that, John, because it's really, and then just technically it's done well,
Well, thank you so much. And I really have to thank the people who are in the film. The interviewees, Frank, Linda, and Chrissy. They tell their stories, and they tell them beautifully. And the film wouldn't be anything without them. Yeah. And I have to really thank them for allowing me to share their stories.
Yeah. And I guess in the end, we're here because of the Russo brothers, right? So we really need to give a shout out to their largesse and to their enlightened thought that, they can help Italian American filmmakers.
The entire Russo family has been so helpful, and I really appreciate the opportunity they gave. And continue to give to other filmmakers out there. So any Italian Americans who have a film they'd like to work on, they should look up this resource. Yeah. Because it's just a wonderful, wonderful gift to the Italian American community.
Well, we have you, and so that's one of their gifts. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode of Italics. I'm Anthony Tamburri. Arrivederci alla prossima puntata.